I arrived at the house when the sunlight had already begun to soften, spilling over the lawn in thin, uneven sheets. The front steps creaked under my shoes, exactly as they always had, and I noticed, with a quiet familiarity, the chipped edge of the porch railing, a faint trace of Grandpa's tobacco in the air, the scent of damp wood lingering in the corners. It was the house he had built, room by room, memory by memory, and they wanted me to forget all that in favor of a polite conversation about fairness. My sister opened the door before I could knock. Her smile was smooth, deliberate, professional in a way that hinted she had rehearsed it. "It's only fair we all benefit," she said, voice light, almost melodic, though the edges were sharp. My brother stood slightly behind her, nodding once, just enough to reinforce her point without adding words. They assumed they were in control, that the calm, measured gestures would herd me toward agreement. I walked inside slowly, noting the familiar creak of the floorboards. The living room smelled of stale coffee and furniture polish, the air heavy with the expectation I refused to acknowledge aloud. I sat on the sofa, letting my weight sink into it exactly as I remembered from childhood. My sister perched on the love seat like a bird claiming its branch. My brother leaned against the doorway, arms folded, playing the silent sentry and forcing their assumption that the outcome was already decided. They began the talk with a practiced smoothness. My sister outlined how sharing the house would honor Grandpa's legacy collectively, her words punctuated by gentle smiles and careful pauses. My brother chimed in occasionally, reinforcing the points, nodding like a metronome, a quiet insistence that I would comply. I listened. I let it wash over me, observing the rhythm, the subtle pressure in their voices, the expectation in their postures. Inside, a different conversation unfolded. Memories of Grandpa rose unbidden, his slow footsteps on these same floors, the way he insisted I learn every detail of the house, the afternoons spent tracing the grain of the wood, the small, almost imperceptible lessons about integrity and self-respect. The house was not just a structure. It was a repository of values, a testament to a principle that I had inherited as much as the walls themselves. I said nothing at first. I allowed the silence to stretch. I felt my sister's fingers twist the edge of a cushion, her smile faltering just enough. My brother's nod slowed imperceptibly as he recalibrated to a room that now felt unpredictable. Their confidence, once absolute, began to waver under the quiet gravity of my inaction. Finally, I reached into my bag and withdrew a copy of the will. The paper had folds, faint creases, the weight of legality made tactile. I placed it on the coffee table with care and let the moment linger before speaking. "Then I guess you haven't read this part," I said softly. The room shifted almost imperceptibly. I read aloud the clause that named me as the sole inheritor of the house. My sister's smile tightened, the polite warmth replaced by a flicker of restrained recognition. My brother's nod wavered, no longer confident, as if he'd just realized that the game had changed without a sound or a shout. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't gesture or demand attention. I simply read, calmly, letting the words and the authority they carried land with quiet inevitability. Control had shifted. The expected outcome, their assumed leverage, had evaporated in the span of a single revelation. The conversation continued, but differently. They spoke now with careful consideration, softer tones, strategic pauses. The ease of entitlement was gone. They offered compromise, suggested hypothetical solutions that were unnecessary, tested boundaries that had been firmly established by Grandpa's words, not my threats. I answered selectively, maintaining calm authority, never yielding, never needing to force acknowledgement. The legality of the document did it for me. Inside me, a mixture of relief and residue settled. Relief because I had preserved what was mine, but residue because warmth and trust were not fully restored. Dignity returned, but familial intimacy remained fragile, shaded with unspoken disappointment. I understood that asserting principle often came at the cost of emotional ease, even when the assertion was necessary. Eventually, the talk tapered. There were no gestures of reconciliation, no forced acknowledgments of victory. just the quiet acceptance that the rules had changed. I stood, folded the wool carefully, and left the room. Outside, the light had shifted longer, thinner across the lawn. I paused on the steps, letting the air touch my face, feeling a subtle weight settle, a mix of relief, authority, and reflection. Inside, my family continued, adjusting silently to a reality they had assumed would never exist. There was low conversation, the soft clink of cups, but I did not return. My presence had shifted the balance, and even in absence, the quiet authority I had asserted lingered. I drove away, the house receding in the rear view, a tangible symbol of Grandpa's legacy and the principles he had instilled. Calm, professional, and firm, the authority was mine, earned without confrontation, without humiliation, without the need to raise my voice. The victory was quiet, undeniable, and complete.